When we communicate from the outside in, when we communicate what we do first, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like facts and features, but it does not drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, the why first, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls decision making and our language part of the brain, which allows us to rationalize those decisions. Welcome back to another episode of the Elite Business Advice Podcast. My name is Chris Moore, the founder of Elite Business Advisors, your host of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed our episode last week on updating your messaging and the journey you can kind of go on to rethink and reframe the message you're using in your marketing. It's an important one. I shared that. I just went through that myself. And so as I was recording that, I thought of another topic that hasn't been covered in a little bit, which is knowing your why. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the conversation from last week as kind of an additional support item. I wouldn't say it's a replacement to last week's episode. But I also heard a lot about this when we were at PCA Expo last week. I'm recording this here a week before it releases. And I heard about this a lot. We talked about why, and we talked about vision. We talked about leadership. We talked about the big intangible things. I noticed a common theme, and Stuart and I were debriefing about that today during our weekly one-on-one about how that was kind of the common theme. And so to me, I was like, this is a great thing to kind of bring to light here. I think it ties in well with the message from last week that I was already thinking about. It just turned into a quick no-brainer for me. And so to me, business without purpose can kind of quickly turn into a job. If you've ever woke up and you found yourself, you're just like, I got to get up and I got to go do this. And I don't love that I'm going to go do it. It's probably because maybe you've lost your purpose, you've lost your why, maybe you've lost your way. If what you're doing kind of feels meaningless, we need to get back to the root and why did you start your business? We titled this, Why Does Your Company Exist for a Reason? Because you need to know that not just on day one, not just on day 100, but also on day 1,000 and 10,000 and 5,000 and 20,000 and everywhere in between, okay? So I want to share a little bit on how to think through what your why is, the purpose of why does your business exist. I want to help you frame it in a way that you can use it alongside the other messaging we talked through from last week. So I hope it helps. Thanks for plugging in. This is the Elite Business Advice Podcast. All right, so before I get into it, I just have to say, we have done 200, and I believe this is number 47 episodes here of the EBA podcast. And I have not sat down for an episode that was recorded in this office that I did by myself. Only interview style when we used to be in studio at PCA office. And so I just realized I don't know what to do with my hands. So if you're watching this on video on YouTube, I don't really know what to do with my hands here. So just know that there's the whole Ricky Bobby thing happening here behind the scenes. If you're just listening to this on audio, you don't get to witness that. So I literally started feeling miserable during our team meeting this morning. I think the crud from Florida and travel I knew eventually would catch up to me. So we'll see. But either way, I wanted to power through and get this done in case my voice goes downhill the rest of the week. Our clients can navigate it. I don't want to do that to you guys. So as I mentioned in the intro, here's the two questions I want to help you understand today. I want you to understand, why does your company exist? And then how do we message that to your customers as an add-on of what we talked about last week with the pain points and the problems, et cetera. Okay. Last week, again, we went through pain points, we went through symptoms, we went through how to connect with them on an emotional level. And I think this just takes that one step further. And how do we utilize that, right? Not every single video you're going to do is going to talk about your why on social media. So we need to integrate that along with the story of the why. And that's why I wanted to kind of dedicate a whole episode to this, because I think it's that important, if I'm being honest. There's a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek right here. Again, if you're watching on video. That talks about this concept. And I think this to me was the first book that I ever really heard on the topic of purpose, why. It was funny, I was going through reading just some of the highlights, and I've got 3 different color highlighters in there, which means I've read it at least 3 different times over the years. It's been a couple of years since I've picked it up. He also has a great book called The Infinite Game as well, that I know we did an episode on that many, many years ago. And so I want you to understand, number one, go get the book. All right, let me just be very clear. There's nothing that I'm going to say in this episode that will replace the how many ever pages are in that book. This isn't a supplement to say, oh, I listened to Chris's podcast episode on it. I'm not going to go read it. If this fascinates you, if you feel like this is something you really need to get in touch with or you've lost your way on, go read or listen to the book, because you're going to get 10 times more out of that than what we're going to share here today. But what I want you to understand here today is, again, how do we just, on a quick surface level, get back to the root of what we're doing? Or again, if you're like some people that listen to this, please take some time to stop through and brainstorm and work on this, right? I always share, I shared this a lot last week at Expo, that our podcast is like our free resource on how to run a professionalized business, right? We'll give you all the tools and secrets and tips. And I mean, we've talked about everything tactical, everything big picture. We've talked about case studies with Clemson and Topgolf last season. We hit it all, man. And like, if you listen to all these and you take time and you spend time working through the stuff we talk about, I mean, I guess you could say we're obsolete. I think you still need us personally, but all that to be said. All right, so take some time to work on this. But here's what I want you to kind of think about. Okay. Imagine there's 3 circles, inside of each other. Okay. So imagine a bigger circle, and then you got a smaller circle in the middle of that one. And then you got an even smaller circle in the middle of that. Okay. Like 3 layers of a cake, essentially, if you're looking at it from the top down. You got a smaller circle, a little bit larger, and then a bigger one, all inside of each other. Okay. The what is on the outside. The how is in the middle. And the middle circle, and the why is at the smallest circle in the very middle of the whole thing. Okay, so just kind of envision that. 3 circles. The what is the big circle on the outside, the how is the middle circle, and then the why is in the very, very middle of the whole diagram and the smallest one. And I wanted to paint that picture for you because there's a quote in here that I'd highlighted, and then I also had wrote next to it, so it means I must have hit home a couple of times, but I wanted to share this with you. It's on page 56 from the book, wherever that is in the audiobook, I don't know. But it says, when we communicate from the outside in, when we communicate what we do first, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information, like facts and features, but it does not drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, the why first, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls decision making and our language part of the brain, which allows us to rationalize those decisions. And so if you think about it, last week we talked a lot about the how and the what, right? What do we do? How do we do it? We talked about the why. We didn't really talk about it this in depth. And that's why I wanted to do this whole episode on it, because again, it's going to be helpful. It's going to connect with people. People see a video and they rationalize a pain point, and your what and your how solve that pain point. It works, but nothing works as good as knowing what the why is behind it, right? Josh Abramson with Albright Painting out in California. I got to know Josh, randomly through PCA the last couple of years, at the last couple of events. And Josh is kind of responsible for the whole Paint It Forward initiative. Justin Lieback, I believe I said that correctly, up out of Chicago was like the committee chair of it this year and really helped pull that whole project together. But Josh kind of started this Paint It Forward project. He started it out in California, just some local stuff they did. PCA wanted to get involved, and now this has turned into a national charity event every single year at PCA Expo. And for me personally, it's one of the best parts of PCA Expo. I love seeing our clients. I love meeting new potential clients of ours, or just people that we can pour into and just, again, let them know we're here as a resource, right? I love those conversations. I love those aha moments. I love getting to see some of my best friends in the industry. It was great to catch up with people last week. The education's great. The trade show's great. Seeing the PCA family and the team is great. But there's something about ending the week with Paying It Forward that just you can't replace. We're back at Give Kids the World, which if you aren't familiar with that organization, it's an organization in Orlando that exists to serve Make-A-Wish trips for kids with terminal illnesses. And I'm sure you at least heard of Make-A-Wish. It's where they get to go stay for free, get the whole Disney VIP experience. And we got to go back there again this year and do our second Paying It Forward project there. And we had, I would guesstimate 75 to 100 painters show up. And we knocked out what I would consider probably a $60,000 to $70,000 project in about 3 hours. And it was very well coordinated. Nick Slavic did a great job with it. Juan Vasquez, myself, Aaron Steiniger, Brad Ellison all ran 4 different kind of parts of the project. And I loved being a part of that and getting to boss around one of our clients, Carl, and some other people that we got to meet throughout the week. But man, you talk about a why, right? And Josh had a why many, many years ago when they started doing Paying It Forward projects there in California. And look at what this has blossomed into. Every year we do a, very large size project to give back to a community that some of us don't even exist in. Some of us have a near and dear story to our heart. I know there was 2 people that day that had a direct connection to the Give Kids the World Foundation through some family challenges. But man, what a way, right? What a why to pour into. And so going back to the question I have for you, why does your company exist? Why are you doing what you're doing? All right, I want to share a couple of thoughts here for me personally that maybe this will help kind of bring home for you. Okay, maybe me sharing some of my whys and some kind of tangible examples will be helpful for you to think about that. But if not, I want you to pause this. I want you to think about it. Why does your company exist? Like, I know for me, we here at EBA, we are on a mission to help professionalize the painting industry and influence communities all over North America and Iceland, if you're listening to this, Carl. Our what and our how might be through business coaching, but our why is honestly that ripple effect that we can create and have seen over the years with our clients to ripple out to help other painting contractors in their market, to help other business owners with perspective and guidance and things they've learned, right? Not to mention the employees that are then going to be positively impacted this. And that's why, like, our mission, it's not just about the businesses. It's actually, for us, it's about the communities, which goes hand in hand with the business owner, goes hand in hand with the homeowner, right? They get a great professional service that they deserve. And we're able to also have a ripple effect to the employees too, right? Like, we found that our clients, and I would just say professionalized painting companies in general, but our clients tend to take great care of their employees, and they tend to take great care of their homeowners. And I have this philosophy that good people do good things with money. And so if we can help painting contractors grow and professionalize and become more profitable, and whatever their goals are is fine. I don't want to push growth on somebody that doesn't want to grow, right? They want to get to $1 million and just stay there for the rest of forever. Great. Let's make it as profitable as possible. Let's impact as many homeowners as we can. Let's be a blessing to those around us. And let's take care of our employees or our subcrews, right? Like, I don't choose the goals, but that's our goal. Our goal is to influence communities. And we do that through business coaching of painting contractors because we know there's a ripple effect both outside with other business owners and down to employees and homeowners, right? I shared last week that at Elite Painting, my why was about serving people the way they deserved, that I hated the stories I heard of, I've called 4 painters and nobody has showed up. And like, we built our reputation on professionalism and communication. And I shared that last week on the episode. But can I honestly share with you the real reason why I started Elite Business Advisors in 2018? Not a lot of people know this story. Like, if I'm being honest, and I've been terrible about sharing this, which is why I'm publicly declaring this. But my why in my painting company wasn't going to be big enough to satisfy me. In doing that, I could probably only impact hundreds, maybe if I grew it to, a $5 million company, maybe 1,000 homeowners a year here just in the St. Louis area. But what I've seen over the years with EBA, we're actually helping influence tens of thousands of homeowners all over North America and again, Iceland, and over 1,000 painters, right? Not to mention the business owners themselves, their families that we get to influence because we're giving them some of their time back. We're helping them maybe make more money and satisfy the reason why they started their jobs. That's our why. I started this company because I knew that my why in my painting company was great, but I wasn't going to be happy with it. And I didn't know if I wanted to grow it to a $5 million company. And even at that, there was going to be a cap on it. And now we have a system, we have a business, we have a model in which we can create this ripple effect to hundreds of thousands of people that I may never meet. And guess what? I'm okay with that. That's why we exist. That's why we are doing what we're doing. As I'm talking about this, I'm getting goosebumps a lot. And I don't share this good enough. Like, I'm realizing that in talking through this, that I don't share this enough. And so here's my last question for you guys. How are you going to start sharing your why? It doesn't have to be big and elaborate, okay? If you felt like I got overly dramatic with ours, that's fine, okay? It doesn't have to be that big. It doesn't have to be that mushy. You don't have to tear up about it. Hopefully you do. I kind of started to there for a second. But at the end of the day, what is your why and how are you guys sharing this? All right. I apologize that I haven't probably talked about that enough because sometimes I forget because I get stuck in the what and the how of the day to day, just like you guys do sometimes. I get stuck in the what and the how of thinking through our marketing messaging. But man, our whys are powerful, guys. And so this is why our why is going to be part of our website revamp we're going through here in Q1. It's going to find its place in our social media more. I can't wait to have our media team clip out kind of that story right there because I don't know that I've ever shared that on social media like I should. And it took being around good people at a great event like PCA Expo to make me realize we've got a why. I know what it is. I've known why I started this business. I've known the ripple effect we want to create with communities. Our team is bought into being a huge part of that. Maybe I haven't shared that enough with them. I actually can't wait to share this with them afterwards and be like, anything surprise you there? Because I guarantee there's a few of them that probably don't know the depth of that. And that's on me, and that's okay. But being in a room full of people like that brought gaps to life that made me realize I don't do things perfectly. I'm a human being too. And so remember, here's what I want to leave you with. People are going to buy on emotional connection. And when there's a cause involved behind it, people want to rally around that. And it's not manipulative. It's not, well, it's only manipulative, actually. I want to hit on this. We talk about this a lot in sales. It's only manipulative if you sell them on one thing and then you do another, okay? If I got on here and I was like, this is our why and this is what we're trying to do and this is the impact we want to have and we want to impact hundreds of thousands of, Americans and people in North America and I want to do all this stuff. And then people signed up and worked with us as clients and then we just didn't help them, right? That would be manipulative, okay? But sharing our story, sharing our why, doing why we're doing what we're doing, and then following through on it, that's just part of the journey, right? So it's not manipulative unless you're selling one thing and doing another, okay? If I was saying, oh man, I really hate when contractors don't call homeowners back and they don't show up late, or they show up late and they don't send over a bid. Man, I hate that. That's why I started my company. And then I did the same freaking thing. Right? Now, again, maybe 1 out of 1,000 times something happened, something fell through the cracks, but I mean habitually, okay? So figure out what your why is, what's important, and how are we going to share that this year? Because I am going to make it a mission to share our why more here in 2026, and I want you to join me. And so find us on social media, share this clip that we're going to put out. Figure out what your why is and let us know that you're in the race as well with us. Thanks for plugging into this week's episode. I hope you're able to take a few nuggets away from it to implement into your business. Remember, knowledge without implementation is useless. If you're curious about what we do and how we help painting contractors all over North America, schedule a free business analysis meeting with us at www.elitebusinessadvisors.com. Our entire team of advisors have ran and managed painting companies just like myself and are here to help support you on your journey. We have packages available for contractors at every stage of business, from flying solo and just starting out, all the way to multi-million-dollar businesses. And lastly, if you loved this episode, please leave us a rating and a review. It helps others on the platform find our podcast, and it could be the best blessing that's ever happened to them thanks to you. Thanks for plugging in, and we'll see you back for next week's episode.